Yo, what is up, guys? So today we have something very interesting. I would never have thought I would say the words Pendulum and Infernity in the same sentence, but it's a thing now. You can get up to potentially 12 negates, which, I mean, at the end of the day, 6 negates makes everything irrelevant anyways, but, you know, why not, man? What if your opponent activates multiple pot of greeds and you don't negate them? Well, don't worry. You might be able to still compete with that, but nonetheless, this is a crazy build. And also wanted to mention one thing really quick. I didn't go over it in a video yet, but Needle Fiber is confirmed for the TCG and it's going to be coming out pretty soon over here. But we're also going to be utilizing Cloth Thief as well as the Elder Entity in Chest. And of course with Oracle of Zephyra, once you go ahead and cycle through a bunch of different things, you're going to be able to activate multiple different effects depending on what you go ahead and make. In one case, you can actually stack your deck for, of course, the Infernity Archfiend, and then also you can technically draw the card, as you guys will see. And then Exceed, you can go ahead and draw one card, discard a card. But here we already see the Apollosa, the Bow of the Goddess, which is already going to have 4 negates, and obviously Triple Berry, that's going to go ahead and be 7 negates. And then with Omega, if you wanted to, you can knock one card out of their hand, and essentially that's negating one card out of their hand. It's kind of random, but, you know, sometimes you just believe in the heart of the cards, aka stacking, and you'll be good to go. But then we also are following up with the Savage Dragon. So he basically lost one card out of his hand. Savage has 4 counters on it, so that's 4 negates. This has also got 4 negates. Technically Blowerload, it can't be accurate all in one turn though, but nonetheless, if you have this many negates, well, it doesn't really matter anyways, because your opponent is not going to be having a good time at all. But we got some more different plays that will open up, of course, with different hands, which can essentially open up the potential for more negates. Well, you guys will see what other card will give you an additional negate, because, you know, that wasn't as good as the deck can get. It can get better, but it all, again, depends on what you have in your hand. But consistently, with Electromite just being in the game and the searchability that has, and also the top decking certain plays, again, if you happen to know exactly what the top card can be. Yo, where that Gishki Definer at? But more importantly, you look at that Disrespect, Special Summoning Ash Blossom over here. But once again, the combo is with Charge Warrior and the Oracle of Zephyra, because as soon as this card gets synchroed, you get to draw one card. But with the Oracle of Zephyra, you get to, as soon as you go for a Synchro Monster, you get to choose one monster and place it on the top of your deck. Like, that synergy, high IQ plays. I wouldn't have actually thought of that, which I think is really cool over here. And we're also going to go ahead and bring back, of course, the Archfiend. Go ahead and search out Necromancer, and then eventually, you know, you just go through all of your barriers, which basically makes it so your opponent is not going to be doing anything anytime soon. And on top of that, Called by the Grave can also function as another form of negation here, which you guys will see. Not that it really matters. It doesn't really matter what your opponent is playing. If they literally don't stop these plays, you just simply win the game. Now, I do want to mention one thing. The downside with Called by the Grave in this deck is at some point, depending on when they negate, obviously if you're playing Infernities, well, you need to have no cards in your hand, so you have to set it, but more than likely, they probably would have stopped you at some other point. There's so much searching in this deck. But we also can follow up with, if we don't go for the triple barrier play, well, we obviously have Called by the Grave in this instance, but Herald of the Arclight can also be summoned to act as an additional negate over here. So, again, you can get up to 12 negates at max potential with this deck. If you could get rid of the Zephyrath, you could technically get it up to 13, but is that really necessary? No. But is it cool if you can do it? Sure, I guess. Because Zephyrath over here is a Pendulum effect. It's just to add that Zephyr monster at the end of the day is pretty much the main play with it. Because you're not going to be utilizing it after that anyways. But let's go ahead and see one more play, and then I'll give you guys the deck profile in case you guys do want to go ahead and make your opponent so salty that they'll probably exit this game and go right back to Fortnite, because that's how I feel sometimes when I play against these decks. Like, this deck is going to be definitely a deck, well, any Pendulum variant that opens up with like 5 or 6 negates, it's just, it makes you go hit the X real fast in that game. But I don't know. I understand when people rage quit. Like, it's not really even rage quitting in 2019, you know? When your opponent is sitting there for like 10-15 minutes comboing, most people don't want to stay in that, and that's myself included. Even in competitive, if I don't happen to have a hand trap back in the Orcas days, you know, I already knew what was gonna happen. That's a GG no re. Like, you just go ahead and you say GG and you give them the handshake. I mean, even at high level Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, sometimes people do mess up. But most of the time, if you are playing against a good player, if you don't happen to have the hand trap or you can't stop their combo, you're just wasting both of your guys' time. Might as well just give them the handshake. This card is just so insanely strong in the game. I like how this card gives your opponent another zone, as if they're going to be able to activate more effects anyways. But also wanted to mention that this card is actually kind of important because if your opponent does summon something, you can't just negate their summon immediately because you don't have any negate summons for all negating effects. If you happen to just have Archfiend, it technically requires them to go to the battle phase, but if they were to, let's say, summon something and just go ahead and deal damage to get rid of your Archfiend to make so you can't use your barriers, and also we happen to have Divine Strike. Like I mentioned before, you can get this up to 13 negates if you get rid of this, because for this, well, gosh, the cards went by so fast. You can technically go for this as 4, this is 4. You can smack one out of their hand with Omega, and on top of that, if you go for Herald of Arc, you could get this up to maybe 14 if you could get rid of this. But I think 13 is pretty much where I'll consider it. Like, that's enough, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, this at 4 and then the triple barrier, that's already 7 negates. And then on top of that, if you follow up with Arc, you're getting 8. But pretty much your opponent is not going to be coming back. Unless they, of course, go for some type of sphere mode, is pretty much give them the handshake. Or Nibiru, obviously, could be a card that can't break it. But I also want to mention, you need to be able to go for that early on enough, but not late, because if you do it too late, what's going to happen is they could just simply activate one of the effects to negate that effect in the first place. So keep that in mind, Nibiru can be negated. But yo, I gotta give a shout out to my boy Alan TCG for building this deck. Like I said, obviously, Needle Fiber will be coming out in the TCG, and that was like one card that's super important. Obviously, Cloth Leap is pretty good too, but that's in like the base set anyways in Ignition Assault. But anyways, yeah, let's go ahead and go over the deck profile. But once again, shouts to my boy Alan for building this deck. I'll link him down below. But first off, 3 copies of Zephyrath, which is basically the Stratos of the deck. Just lets you add the Zephyr Pendulum monster, any of them. And then we're going to go ahead and have 1 Destrudo, 1 copy of Supreme King Gate 0, and of course, where the heck is Darkroar? I like to put these right next to each other, because basically one searches out the other one. And then we have the Chronograph Sorcerer, 2 copies of Zephrano's Secret of the Yang Xing. And then we've got 1 copy of Archfiend, 1 copy of Armageddon Knight, 1 copy of the Patriarch, 1 copy of the Zeph Wendy, and then 1 copy of Zephroxy, and then 1 Necromancer, 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 1 copy of Jet Synchron, 1 copy of Avenger, 3 copies of Dragon Shrine, 1 copy of Terraforming, 3 copies of the Zephyr Providence, 1 copy of Foolish Burial, 1 copy of the World Legacy Succession, 3 copies of Called by the Grave. But again, keep in mind, if you are at some point going for the Infernity stuff, you need to set this card, otherwise, well, you're not going to be able to go completely off. And then we have 1 copy of Infernity Launcher, 3 copies of Zephyr. Then we have 1 Dragon Ravine. We're playing 2 copies of Barrier and then 1 copy of Divine Strike. Technically, this is just like another barrier. Alternatively, you can triple barrier, but you get blocked by 1 card sometimes. You can, like I said, run triple barrier, it's totally fine. But like this acts as like the other card in the zone. If you could somehow get rid of this, it's probably not that viable to get rid of it. But I'm saying that, like, eventually once you combo off, you don't need this card. It just literally blocks one of your zones. You can push it up to, again, we're talking 14 negates. At some point, it requires like a really good hand, but it would technically make Arc light and then have that extra zone need to be available for the 14 negate. But again, I don't know what deck needs 14 negates turn 1. Literally 6 is all you need. Unless, of course, you activate something that gives both players the option to draw. But nonetheless, this deck doesn't play like Darkwold Dealings or any card that's going to Cup of Ace. But anyways, for the extra deck, we have the Elder Entity in Chest, 1 copy of Savage Dragon, 1 Omega, Charge Warrior, which, again, that big brain plays, dude. I think that's such a cool idea. To stack your deck and then draw that card. You could even utilize this with a lot of other cards. Unfortunately, you can't do it with Rank Up because it does have to be a monster from your deck that you are stacking for its effect. But then we got the Ib, and then Arclight, Beatrice, number 60. And then we have Moral Sword, Soryuja, 1 copy of both Goddess, Phoenix, Electrum, Needle Fiber, and Cloth Leap over here. Pretty cool stuff indeed. I really like to see kind of more interesting decks, that's for sure. Again, Pendulum Infernity, just a crazy deck ideas, dude. I love it. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you did, drop a like on it. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on new Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you guys want to go ahead and send me in other replays of crazy deck ideas, again, I love seeing what you guys in the community make. And once again, shout out to my boy Alan TCG, and I'll link him down below. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one, and I'm signing out. Peace.